Can you see that? There we go. Empowering wellness through detox, reset, and restore. That's my presentation today about my journey to overcoming autoimmune symptoms and what I learned along the way. This is for the people who couldn't come to my talk, and this is a new and improved version. So the journey, my journey. First, starting with symptoms. Let's see. My flight instructor even pointed it out. Are you in pain? And I said, yes, my joints are hurting a lot more than they used to. And then my doctor asked me, are you not enjoying the old activities that you used to enjoy? And I said, yes. Are you feeling depressed and hopeless? And I said, yes, but it's situational. I picked a challenging career that's putting a lot of stress on me, and I'm failing slowly but surely. So I got diagnosed with arthritis from a chiropractor who took x-rays and saw that there's a lot of compression going on. But it was beyond just that. It was also the depression. It was also, well, at its peak, waking up at 2 a.m., heart just in fear. Emotionally, I was dark. I would easily cry. And the doctor tried to prescribe me antidepressants. Also, I couldn't concentrate, and I was working on my instrument rating after I got my private pilot's license, and I could not focus. I was such a nerd, such a academic focused nerd, until the symptoms started kicking in, and I'd cry, I can't focus, I can't sleep, and it just compounded. And it went on like that, and I kept trying to get my instrument rating, and just, golden handcuffs or sunk cost fallacy or something. I kept trying to push through, and I just kind of metaphorically, thankfully, crashed and burned. And I was just so sad and depressed and afraid, and I wasn't really showing up for the people in my life as I would have wanted to. And I thought, me being such a downer isn't serving anyone else. I want to get better. So I became determined to, first of all, I can't take ADHD medication or depression medication and still be a pilot. So that was already out of the question. And I didn't want, when they told me that, I was watching a documentary about, by Dave Asprey called Biohack. And he said, if you have any issues, go get your hormones tested. And so I did. And the doctor said I had Hashimoto's disease. And that was an autoimmune hypothyroiditis, where my thyroid is attacking itself, or my immune system is attacking my thyroid. And there's like a couple medication options that I have to take for the rest of my life. And that just didn't sit right with me, because the root of my joint pain, the root of my depression and lack of focus, and my emotions and my sleep schedule and my energy levels and my mood, that wasn't just the thyroid. That's another symptom. So my mind thought, I need to keep going. I'm not taking that. I'm going to figure out something else. And my doctor said, yeah, go see a functional medicine doctor. And I looked into it, $500 for an initial consultation, and doesn't get covered. So I just borrowed all the books from the library about thyroid, hormone, adrenals, because I could tell my adrenals were messed up from waking up every night at 2 with all this cortisol streaming through my body. So I learned a lot about that. And I also just mentioned it to people, and I found out how common it is that people were taking thyroid medication, or maybe didn't have a thyroid anymore, because that was the mainstream option. And then one friend knocked on my door. First time I'd met her, she'd knocked on my door because she was a Jehovah's Witness, and she would come by because she knew I was open to getting through that tome of a Bible, such hard language, and don't know where to start. The Jehovah's Witnesses, they sure know how to guide you through the meaningful parts of the Bible. So I enjoyed my talks with her, but I mentioned to her, and she said I had Hashimoto's disease, and you should read Isabella Wentz's Hashimoto's Protocol. So I did. So that's how my exploration and discovery. This is a picture of a flower coming out at sunset. Really dark, hard to see, but this is a picture of a sad lady with aching joints. This is the exploration on the path. Oops. And then the other one is the discovery. So the discovery came from talking about Hashimoto's disease. So this is a picture of the medical institutions connected to the hospitals, the insurance companies, and the doctor's offices. And it's to show that academia focuses research on treatments that align with what insurance companies will cover and what pharmaceutical companies can manufacture profitably. The research determines the diseases that are studied and the medications that are developed, and ultimately the medical guidelines taught to physicians. Research is influenced by the funding from pharmaceutical companies and grant systems that prioritize conventional treatment methods. The insurance companies only reimburse treatments that are standardized, measurable, and proven through this research. And doctors are educated in this research-backed model, learning which pills are most effective for which diseases. They're trained to treat the symptoms and not necessarily the root cause. Allopathic medicine is the conventional medical approach most of us are familiar with if we didn't get raised by hippies. It treats diseases using research-based treatments, prescription medications, surgeries, or other intervention inventions designed to address specific symptoms or illnesses. Yes, it's highly effective for acute conditions, emergencies, and infections where precise interventions are needed, and it excels at managing symptoms and addressing the immediate issue, but often it overlooks the deeper systemic root causes, and it's not effective for chronic or autoimmune conditions. These are considered lifelong conditions. Holistic medicine, we'll get into that, but it treats the whole treatment, the whole person, the lifestyle, nutrition, exercise, creating a balance rather than just focusing on a disease. And because it involves such individualized approaches and multiple variables, diet, stress management, exercise, these are hard to study systematically, unlike the disease and pill model. So holistic care can't be standardized, measurable, or experimented with that way. And in that sense, it's also hard to make a pill out of it and profit from it, so it's hard to invest funding into researching it to begin with. And how would you bill an insurance company for a holistic model? You can't. So people need to self-educate and self-motivate, and they need to pay out of pocket for functional medicine providers or naturopaths, or they can nerd out like I did and dive down the rabbit hole of health. A big obstacle is also the last part here, the power of belief. The big obstacle that I had to encounter with my journey is that a physician has a white coat on and they exude authority, and there's a psychological impact of that attire and their respect and esteem in our society, so that we trust that authority. So when a doctor says that you have a lifelong condition and you should take this pill forever, the effect can be quite damning due to the nocebo effect. Can't really read it, sorry. But the nocebo effect is a nocebo response. It's the opposite of a placebo effect, and it happens when a person's negative expectations of a treatment leads to negative side effects. For example, like if you're misdiagnosed and said you're going to die of a certain disease, even if it's a misdiagnosis, a lot of times, oftentimes enough for it, more than chance, the person still progresses down that stage of illness. So the medical paradigm is, first of all, limited in how it views disease and wellness. And second of all, it's dangerous and you have to watch out because it's a system that's in place that maybe our society values it more and the holistic stuff is too woo-woo. Although I think we're changing in our paradigm of how we think about health. So let's go to the next slide. In allopathy, they would just treat the symptom. And I just want to go over the symptoms of thyroid diseases. Energy and sleep. It can be anything from fatigue or feeling tired despite adequate rest, difficulty waking up in the morning, sudden bursts of energy followed by crashes, insomnia or trouble staying asleep, restless sleep or waking up feeling unrefreshed, waking up at odd hours like 2 a.m. Mood and cognition, it can affect anxiety, nervousness, restlessness, depression, apathy, lack of motivation, mood swings, irritability, short temper, difficulty concentrating, brain fog, memory lapses, forgetfulness, emotional hypersensitivity, crying easily. And then for temperature and metabolism, you can feel really cold and intolerant of cold for hypothyroidism, feeling excessively hot or intolerant of heat for hyperthyroidism, sweating more or less than usual, changes in appetite, increased or decreased, weight gain despite eating less for hypothyroidism, weight loss despite eating more, hyperthyroidism. And then for the circulation and heart, racing or pounding heart palpitations, slow heart rate or bradycardia, high blood pressure or low blood pressure, lightheadedness or dizziness when standing up. Reproductive health, it can also affect irregular or heavy menstrual cycles, hypothyroidism, missed or light menstrual cycles, hyperthyroidism, decreased sex drive or libido, infertility or difficulty conceiving, or for men, erectile dysfunction. So all these things would, in an allopathic world, just be treated with, for erectile dysfunction, here's some Viagra. For sleep disorders, here's some, what would they give? Like some kind of sleeping pill. For mood, take this antidepressant. They tried to sling some antidepressants at me and I just couldn't take them. So that's how allopathic medicine treats it. But we need to look upstream. Can you see that? Look upstream. So there's a hidden epidemic. Societal norms, first of all, that we think it's normal to be tired and maybe take a sense of pride of being busy. It's pretty normal to be depressed. You're not really surprised if you find out some of your people are struggling with depression or anxiety. It's normal now. Approximately 23% of the U.S. adults experience mental illness. Anyway, 60% of individuals with thyroid diseases are unaware of their condition, while 60% of U.S. adults have chronic diseases. So it's like the majority of people have some kind of issue, but it's just, first of all, it's normalized, and second of all, it's unacknowledged. The thyroid, adrenals, and gut, there's millions worldwide that are untested and misdiagnosed. And the hormonal cascade is that one out of touch element will affect all the others, from the hypothalamus to the pituitary gland to the thyroid to the adrenals and the pancreas and the gut. Everything affects each other. So if you just take a medication to fill in the thyroid missing hormones, then it doesn't receive the message from the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland to activate more, and then I can't even describe the effect of cascading effects that it can have, but it doesn't treat the root cause. And a lot of times people have a thyroid issue because of life stressors. So they're taking a thyroid pill, they feel better, and they're good for that with that amount of medication for a while. But when maybe that life stressor goes away and passes, then they're still taking that medication, but their thyroid's actually okay now, but you're still taking this medication. So there's a whole bunch of things wrong with taking a medication even if it might alleviate a symptom in the short term. So doctors have to be aware and patients have to be aware that, sure, use it for an emergency, but try to get like you could, in what I'm about to explain to you, you could just keep taking that medication, but start doing the changes. And as you get your test, you keep testing for your thyroid's function and everything else, then you can adjust that medication or eventually completely get off of it. There's a website that I want to mention right now called stopthethyroidmadness.com, and it's a community of people who talk about the effects of all the various medications that they've been put on, and I recommend looking into that if you're interested. It also recommends what kind of testing you should request from your doctor if you don't invest in a functional medicine doctor. There's a lot of things that you can vouch for by yourself. And Stop the Thyroid Madness will tell you about it. Autoimmunity simplified. So, autoimmunity develops when the immune system mistakenly identifies its own cells, tissues, and organs as threats and mounts an immune system response against them. The misdirected immune activity can lead to chronic inflammation. And that can be the onset of autoimmune disease. That inflammation leads to tissue damage. So certain genetic factors increase the susceptibility, but genes don't always express themselves without some kind of trigger. Those triggers, and that's epigenetics for you in a nutshell. So those triggers are infections, environmental and dietary toxins, and stress. Some infections, this was really interesting to learn that a lot of infections mimic self-antigens. That's called molecular mimicry, and it leads to an immune response that cross-reacts with the body's tissues. So for some fun facts, not so fun facts, the bacteria, like a common infection, would lead to certain autoimmune diseases. For example, strep throat or scarlet fever can lead to rheumatic fever because there's molecular mimicry going on with that strep virus or bacteria and your heart cells or something like that. A lot of Hashimoto's people had mono, and that's the Epstein-Barr virus, and that can lead to Graves or lupus disease as well. And then from foodborne illnesses, that can also trigger Hashimoto's or Graves' disease. And then if you've ever had a stomach ulcer, that can lead to autoimmune gastritis or pernicious anemia. And then cytomegalovirus, CMV, that can lead to lupus or rheumatoid arthritis or type 1 diabetes. Or the hand, foot, and mouth disease, myocarditis, that can also lead to type 1 diabetes. And the fungal infections like Candida, those can lead to Hashimoto's thyroiditis and Crohn's disease and other inflammatory conditions. And the herpes virus, like cold sores and genital herpes, that can lead to multiple sclerosis. And Lyme's disease can also lead to other autoimmune arthritis and, as you know, a host of other conditions. Next slide. So the holistic approach. This is, again, the same parts that we want to address in our symptoms. Holistic medicine focuses on restoring natural energy and promoting restful sleep through practices like herbal remedies, circadian rhythm alignment, maybe acupuncture, sleep hygiene practices. One that's important is seeing the sunrise and the sunset. It only takes 2 or 3 days by doing that, getting that sunshine into your iris, to reset your circadian rhythm if you're having trouble falling asleep and getting up. It's a lot of the blue light issues and just being indoors all the time triggers a cascade of effects from the iris to the melanin to the circadian rhythm to the pineal and pituitary gland. It's very complex. We really are just at the beginning of figuring all this out. So don't use sunglasses if you really don't have to. because the iris needs all the wavelengths of the sun. The mood and cognition in holistic medicine is, emotional balance and mental clarity. We try to address the underlying causes, gut health, through diet and adaptogens and supplements, and through addressing stress and lifestyle, of course, while incorporating mindfulness, visualization, and breath work. And then the temperature, metabolism, circulation, heart, and reproductive health. Well, holistic practices aim to optimize that metabolic health and thermoregulation by supporting hormonal balances, reducing inflammation, oftentimes through diet, like blood sugar regulation, and using adaptogens such as maca, ashwagandha, or chasteberry, and also through meditation. And meditation positively affects the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. And then they also incorporate energy medicine to improve blood flow and reduce cardiovascular strain. These all incorporate lifestyle changes and can also often include supportive therapies like acupuncture and various modalities for emotional healing. Science has shown us that stress and emotions can cause serious health conditions, right? Such as heart attacks and cancers. And so logic tells us that emotional healing and reducing lifestyle stress can probably reverse that same disease. Isabella Wentz's protocol from the Hashimoto's protocol is to detox the liver, reset the adrenals, and restore the gut biome. So the detox phase focuses on supporting the whole detox systems, primarily the liver, but also the kidney, the bladder, the skin, the lymph and digestive systems, and the lungs, which also aid in detoxification. She focuses on the liver because our livers tend to be overburdened, but if you're in quite a rough spot, why not also do dry brushing? And so let's focus on all the detoxification pathways that our body offers us. And that phase lasts 2 to 4 weeks in her protocol. And then the adrenal reset is about 4 to 6 weeks, which for the lifestyle modifications, I just started making them right away because I needed to just sit in meditation and process all these emotions. And that really is where the most profound healing came. And then the gut restore is really an ongoing process, but it's about 2 to 6 months to really get into that, to really heal the gut microbiome and healing the gut permeability and cultivating a healthy biome. Oh yeah, and for the adrenal reset, it's not just the endocrine system. We also address everything else holistically. So let's get back into the liver detox portion. Our bodies have all these different systems for detoxification. The liver, of course, is the primary detox organs. It takes a lot of amino acids to start those 2 phases of detoxification. So everybody should probably start taking complex amino acids to support those pathways and enhance liver function and gut integrity and digestive health and antioxidant defenses of neutralizing those free radicals. The free radicals are those unstable molecules that cause oxidative stress on our DNA and cells. And although they're naturally produced as byproducts of normal cellular processes like immune function and metabolism, they can also come from external sources of pollution, UV radiation, toxins, processed foods, and they damage healthy cells and accelerate aging. And they're associated with chronic disease. Hydration. So besides amino supports, hydration is good for every single detox pathway. In the liver, hydration ensures efficient blood flow and bile production. In the kidneys, which filter toxins via urine, that use obviously that hydration to filter and excrete water-soluble toxins effectively. And then our skin, it's good to use a sauna if you have access to one. It expels fat-soluble toxins and heavy metals. Exercise also promotes circulation and it may stimulate your sweat glands to release toxins unless you have a thyroid condition that minimizes your ability to sweat. And then the digestive system is another important bowel to the fiber, eating fiber. It binds to the toxins in the bile and it aids in regular bowel movements for toxin elimination. And then finally, the lymphatic system, which does cellular waste removal. And dry brushing and stimulating that lymphatic flow helps transport and remove cellular waste and toxins. Another thing I like to do for lymphatic drainage is rebounding on a trampoline. And then exercise activates lymph movement, which relies on body motion rather than a pump like the heart. The adrenal reset is so here I wrote adrenal recovery. We want to balance the cortisol levels through stress management, which is primarily sleep, meditation, and exercise. And then secondly, joyful living. Prioritizing activities that bring happiness and relaxation, saying no and setting boundaries. Really difficult, huh? And then adaptogen power is incorporating things that work for you. Ashwagandha, thiamine, magnesium, all those things. So first of all, the endocrine system regulates cortisol, aldosterone, and adrenaline via the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis. And for this, we balance those with adaptogenic herbs like rhodiola and ashwagandha. And when we practice mindful relaxation, we also calm that HPA axis. The nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system that triggers fight or flight, or fawn or freeze. And we incorporate breathing exercises to activate the rest and digest system, the parasympathetic system. And then we do practices in our lifestyle to reduce overstimulation, like limiting our screen time and reducing our caffeine intake, or becoming very mindful of when and why we're drinking caffeine, because those stimulate fight or flight responses. And like I said, the lymphatic system with which works with adrenal hormones to manage inflammation and fluid balance. So we can support those with hydration, dry brushing, and movement, drinking lots of water and herbal teas to flush out toxins and reduce adrenal strain, and using that trampoline. And then the cardiovascular system, this part is a little more tricky because adrenal hormones are correlated to the blood pressure and heart rate. And to optimize blood pressure and circulation, we exercise, but we have to find a form of exercise that works for our constitution and where we're at with adrenal reset. Because we don't want to do the wrong kind of exercise and make our adrenal system worse. So, and similarly to that, our muscular skeletal system, cortisol affects that system. So incorporating strength building exercises and weight bearing exercises to counter cortisol's effect on decreasing bone density is really important. So when our adrenals are really high up, we want to start with low intensity restorative exercises like walking, yoga, swimming, to just promote circulation and stress reduction without triggering excessive cortisol or adrenaline spikes. It supports the parasympathetic activation, the rest and digest mode, and counteracts the overactive sympathetic responses of fight or flight. And then when you go back up a little bit into moderate exercise, you can improve your heart health and regulate your blood pressure and enhance the body's responsiveness to adrenal hormones. But short, moderate sessions, like 30 minutes of cycling or brisk walking, can also stimulate endorphins, reducing cortisol and adrenaline production. And then strength training is really important. Building muscle mass, it improves insulin sensitivity, helping stabilize blood sugar, which is a key factor in adrenal health. The strength training should be low rep and low intensity during the recovery phases to avoid excessive strain. Because if you overtrain, like with high intensity interval training or prolonged endurance exercises, it can overstimulate the adrenals and lead to elevated cortisol and adrenaline, which puts a dampener in our adrenal recovery. So, if you're excessively exercising, you might get really fatigued, lightheaded, and have poor recovery. A little fatigue and tiredness is good, but you really have to pay attention to not push yourself too hard. So now I covered joyful living, and the funny thing about the joyful living is it seems so common sense and simple, but it's not easy because of that epidemic of being tired and overworked, and we collectively probably need to learn how to set boundaries. So prioritize your activities and simplify your life. Do more of what you want to do more of what you love, and say no to what you don't. Like, really be firm about that till you have your health back. Next slide. That looks like the same slide. So this is my favorite slide. I barely even used AI to generate it. Not at all, just Google searches and my hands. But this character, this man here, this mythical, legendary figure is Babaji. It's like an idealized form of human that has been purported to manifest to advanced yogis to share techniques. And if you can find this image online, it'll actually have a lot of keys for yogic success just in this one image. My friend gave me these mudra cards, and I went through them at the beginning of my journey and picked. Every chakra had a mudra for a different need. Like if you needed grounding or if you needed safety, you could kind of pull it out and just hold the mudra for a while. So the way that it works is the fire, air, ether, earth, and water lines get balanced by holding them in a certain form. And very little science has been done on this, but you just try it. And see if you're sensitive and can feel the subtle energy shifts, you'll notice it and you won't be able to stop. So beyond hormones, which the materialist may deduce is the root cause of things, that's what the wall that I hit with the doctors is that, okay, we got to the smallest particle, the hormone. There are more levels into that subtle realm. So the chakras, here somebody's lying down with their butt here and their head here. The chakras are energy, I'm sure you know what this is, but I'm just going to review it if you don't. Chakras are energy centers within and around and along the spine, and they feed the organs through the spine and the endocrine system that guides those hormones. Like I said, I chose those mudras and their corresponding affirmations, and I directed the energy to different parts of the body to balance those electromagnetic vibrations. And as I did this, I simultaneously used the seed mantras that in ascending tones to resonate the chakras into harmony. The chakras can have all sorts of issues. They can be imbalanced, weak, misaligned, energetically hot, leaky, blocked, stagnant and dirty, spinning irregularly or scattered or overburdened. So in meditation, with breath and visualization, you can correct and rectify that. So Babaji is sitting on top of a lotus, besides which are the yamas and the niyamas, the do's and don'ts of yoga. They're the foundation upon which his lotus, our lotus, sits. So one thing about the thyroid, which is located in your throat, is that it's connected to speech. And when you think about all the things that could be wrong with your chakra, for example, honestly, I lied as a child. I'm sorry. I did it out of self-preservation, for protection, or because I didn't know how to speak up, and I didn't always say what I meant or mean what I said. And so this can, this Visuddha chakra can get dirtied or blocked and irregular and affect the hormone that's right there, affecting my speech. So the study of chakras literally goes on for infinity. But this should give you the foundation from which you can get through anything, even death. A couple mudras that I like to sit with. This one is for freedom. I'm not sure if it corresponds to the thyroid. I think it does. But I chose this one, pointing it down at the earth for grounding. This one or this one for the triangle for balance for the second chakra, for the orange one. And then I chose this one for the middle third chakra for Ram. And then this one is like and this is like determination. Middle fingers out, just on your belly. And then I chose the receiving love, giving self-love, and also giving love, as I felt it for my heart chakra. And then this one for the throat, this one for the third eye, and this one for the crown. And I will go through Lam with the seed syllables, the bija mantras. Lam, Vam, Ram, Ham. Yam. Yam. Ham. Om. Ham. And then a silent Om right above here. And then there was also vowels that I mixed with it. Ooh, oh, ah, e, om, aum. And I really think that that's really what did it. But the liver detox helped a lot. So step 3 is the gut restoration. Restoring the gut health is our final step after addressing the liver and the adrenals. Isabella Wentz knew that this part was the key part, but a lot of people couldn't really feel the benefits of this until they did the other 2 protocols. So she made that just standard for anybody doing the protocol. Just do the liver detox, because maybe a fourth of the time you have to go back and do it anyway. So the gut is the foundation of overall wellness and immunity. Replenishing beneficial gut bacteria with fermented foods and drinks is part of the key. But a fun fact about probiotics is that different probiotics affect different areas of our human existence. For example, if you have just general bad gut health, then Lactobacillus rhamnosus GG is effective in reducing diarrhea. And if you have abdominal discomfort associated with IBS, then to alleviate bloating, gas, and discomfort, the Bifidobacterium infantis 35624 has been shown to alleviate those. Then for vaginal flora and preventing infections, there's Lactobacillus rhamnosus and GR1 and Lactobacillus reuteri RC14. And then for if you have anxiety and depression, try Lactobacillus helveticus R0052 and Bifidobacterium longum R0175, because those reduce your symptoms of anxiety and depression just with a probiotic. Dope. So they have some, and then the Boulardii, S. Boulardii, is effective for, it was recommended highly in I can't remember what it was good for. But there's also supplements, and this part was very valuable. You can repair the gut lining, which has been destroyed from our environmental toxins and the pesticides and the Roundup and all that crap. So L-glutamine, zinc carnosine, collagen, bone broth, slippery elm, marshmallow root, and digestive enzymes to help completely digest meat and dairy. There's systemic enzymes that you can take because a lot of people with Hashimoto's disease don't have the capability to digest some of those more complex things. So I've kind of become more and more vegetarian, not just because of this, but because I have more compassion now for animals and all beings. Kind of happens when you start meditating. Like you lose your taste for eating sentient beings for nourishment and to fill a belly. And of course, okay, so supplements to support gut immunity. I already covered the probiotics. Vitamin D apparently also helps. And then supplements to reduce inflammation, because there's inflammation going on in our gut, not just our joints. There's omega-3 fatty acids, turmeric or curcumin, which is in the turmeric, or aloe vera. Those all help. Oops. Next slide. So thank you for joining me on my presentation. The resources and tools, primarily Isabella Wentz. Thank you for your work. I'm sorry you had to suffer so much, but you are now helping millions of people like me and now my friends who I'm sharing this information with. And definitely check out her books. She's got recipes. I was thinking of writing another recipe book that was more intermittent fasting based, and also that could support my partner with his ankylosing spondylitis issues, which a lot of people would benefit from taking lectins out of their diet as well. And so I have to research more about that and learn how to be more vegetarian and have a arthritis, autoimmunity condition, and a Hashimoto's disease condition that we can still cook together. And but if you have Hashimoto's disease and want to follow this diet and don't have the time to read, I mean, her book is really good, but she comes from it from an academic standpoint. You really understand how these hormones work and all the details of the studies. She goes really deep. But I made a Cliff Notes version because I know people are having to be overworked and underpaid because of our capitalist system and based on exploitation. Separate talk. But the Hashimoto's protocol, I have created notes, basically, my notes on the book. And I made a recipe book and summarized the protocol, and you can get to that at my website, ontheweb.shop/health recovery protocol. So thank you for watching my presentation. Final slide, empowerment. Nature gives us our willpower, sunshine, and earth-grown food as medicine. So there's hope. The power of belief is real. Don't trust the system of things, trust yourself. And the journey. Our bodies and emotions are guides to align us into the best path forward. I firmly believe that I deserved this because I did not listen to the little voice in whispering into my ear, telling me to follow my bliss and my joy, even if it's not what society would, want from me. But that's all an illusion in your head. So it's an ongoing process. Sometimes it's hard to stay that disciplined, but you can do anything for 60 days or 90 days, I think, is her protocol is 90 days. And sure enough, the first time I went to the doctor's office, got my thyroid checked, she said, yes, your numbers are, you have Hashimoto's disease, it's lifelong. Take this pill. I said, no, I did this. And then I went back 3 months later. I took another test. My symptoms had improved right away in the first 2 weeks, at least a lot of them, the worst of them, really. By the time I went back, they took my blood test again, and she didn't even react that much. She was like, nope, it's all good, because she's got 90 patients a day or something. And I was like, you told me to take medicine the rest of my life. And she said, I know functional medicine works. It's just that most people would rather just take a pill. The nurse practitioner also has family that has experience reversing some pretty dire things with holistic medicine. So even my doctors were open to this pathway. So that must say a lot about where we're coming. The doctor that I have or had, I'm not sure if my insurance still covers her. She knows her role is to treat diseases and diagnose, and that. So I appreciate her openness, but I know a lot of doctors can be egotistical and closed-minded, and a lot of our families and friends can be like that too, and say that, like, if you have cancer and you're trying to do a Rife machine or pH alkaline diet to cure your cancer, they're gonna like try to shut you down because they care and they want you to get the best treatment options available. And maybe they don't think the sun has healing powers, but yet they'll pay $500 or $1,000 to have a far infrared sauna in their house or something. Far infrared light is in the sun, so just get outside, get naked. Make sure you approach the sun with your mouth wide open and your thyroid out into the sun morning and night. Fix your circadian rhythm, heal that infrared inflammation, heal the inflammation with the infrared, far infrared and near infrared, and get well soon. Like I said, this is an epidemic affecting 1 in 6 women or something like that, and most people are misdiagnosed, and I would have never known if I hadn't happened to watch Dave Asprey's biohack. So I'm sharing this very long video with you so that you can also be empowered with the information here. Thank you for listening. I hope this helps you. Good night.